Unbelievers who doubt the biblical narrative with respect to miracles have to pause and recognize and scrutinize their controlling assumptions. Okay, and that's why I'm saying when you do that, you're going to find, lo and behold, there's an unargued bias in this argument that has to be exposed. And that unspoken assumption is, we know that miracles are impossible. To which you need to say, we know that? Now, we're going beyond mere opinion. How much information would a person have to have taken in about the natural world to say that miracles are impossible? Notice, not unlikely or rare, but impossible. And anyone figure this out? It's not a really tough thing logically. How much would you have to know about the natural world to dismiss the possibility of miracles? You'd have to know everything, wouldn't you? You'd have to know every fact of science, every conceivable fact of science. And say, okay, I've looked at all of them, and I now know that there's just no room for the miraculous here. And so an unbeliever, without even arguing the case, dismisses miracles as impossible. You need to point out that is being arbitrary. Unbelievers feel that they know that such events cannot take place because they have a scientific outlook, and they're convinced that all of nature operates in a predictable and a law-like fashion. And so you need to say, and how do you know that all of nature operates in a predictable law-like fashion? The answer will come back, because the portion of nature that I'm familiar with does. Yes, but not all of nature is contained in the sum of nature, the little bit of nature that you've experienced. In logic, what do we call that? Krista, you know the answer to this? That's right. Hasty generalization. In logic, that is taking a little bit of evidence and then universalizing the evidence. A person hasn't got a good argument to say, well, it's always been predictable. And then if you point that out to unbelievers, what they're going to tell you, I love this, they'll say, oh, well, yeah, that's right. I don't know that all of nature is like that, but miracles would run counter to the regularities in my experience. They would not be predictable given the world that I know, and so they're really extraordinary then. If there are miracles, they would be really extraordinary. And you want to go, duh, yeah. Isn't that the point? We wouldn't call them miracles if they weren't extraordinary. Okay, now an unbeliever who hears that and realizes, I've really got a bias here that I've been pushing, in my argument, and I have no argument, no logically sound argument for that bias, is going to have to fall back then on not allowing for any possibility of miracles because he believes that causality operates in the universe. In fact, everything that is to be explained, according to the unbeliever, if you wish to be scientific, if you wish to be rational, if you wish to be modern and enlightened, must be explained in a causal fashion. Yes, that's true. If everything operates in a causal fashion, then we aren't going to have any extraordinary or supernatural events like miracles. But I want to ask you, just before you leave here, could you explain to me now, why is it you believe that there's predictability in the universe at all? In general now, just why can you use causal analyses when you explain anything? Well, the unbeliever says, well, we've used causal analyses in the past. The sun has come up every day in the past, just like we predicted. We can tell you the time of sunrise and sunset and so forth. We can give you a causal analysis of that. And causal analyses have been used in the past to build bridges and blah, 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 blah. All these successes in the past. You say, oh, okay, I buy all that. My question was really about the future. How can you be sure that the causal analyses that you've used in the past are going to apply in the future? Well, then you are reasoning from the past to the future. I'd like to know on what basis you do that. How can you expect uniformity between previous experience and future experience? To which the answer will be, you love the way unbelievers reason in circles, and yet they accuse us of this. They'll say, well, because it's always been that way in the past. It's always been predictable in the past, and so it'll be predictable in the future. Say, okay, I appreciate that. That's really good. It was predictable in the past. But again, how do you know that even though the future was like the past in the past, that the future will be like the past in the future? And does the unbeliever have any basis for that? Well, yes, he does, as a matter of fact, but not as an unbeliever. We do have a reason to believe the future will be like the past. And that reason is that we have a sovereign God who created this universe and controls it sovereignly, and he is true to his word. And he has promised that the future will be like the past. In fact, he even built that into the Noahic covenant. You can count on the fact that seed time and harvest will follow each other. God had been governing the universe that way previously as well.